If your sales team keeps saying, we'll get our engineer on the next call, that is not a win. That's a red flag. It means your buyer did not get what they needed from your existing content or from the first call. So now they're stuck waiting for someone technical to explain it. I've been that engineer. I've also been the person who built content so that engineers don't have to keep doing the same pre-sales calls over and over. So let's talk about why this happens, how to fix it, and what content you can provide that answers technical questions before you burn your best people out on every single deal. We really need to talk about what is happening here, because sales teams, it's great that they get meetings, but the fact that they so heavily depend on engineers, it's a bigger problem. And when your sales team, like, they get a meeting with a prospect, the prospect doesn't want 2 meetings, they want 1. And usually they have really simple, straightforward questions, although they're technical, but those questions need to be answered. It'll be like, how does it integrate with our existing stack? What happens if a system, one of your systems, goes down? How customizable is this solution? How long does it take to implement it? Do you have diagrams that show me, architectural templates, whatever? If your rep can't answer these questions confidently, they escalate to product or engineering, and then it becomes a big problem. Now they're pulling in someone who's already overloaded, working on roadmap critical features, and just not thrilled about being dragged into another call to explain the same thing they explained on the last call with a different prospect. And I don't want to be unfair here. It's not that the reps are doing something wrong. It's that the content isn't doing its job. It's either not there or the sales rep doesn't know how to use it. And that's a problem. So your content is supposed to replace these follow-up technical calls or even precede the first call. And you need more content that actually does that, because when you don't have the right technical content, your default line becomes, let's get someone technical on the call. That is so expensive. It costs you much more than the time too. In fact, it could cost you the entire deal. The prospect might just be like, oh geez, another company whose sales team doesn't understand the product they're selling. You're spending engineering time on deals that might not even be qualified. That's a huge problem. You're slowing down the sales cycle with these additional calls, and you're burning out your SMEs on pre-sale support when a lot of the time it could have just been handled by a single PDF. Not to mention the inconvenience to the prospect, who has to reluctantly agree to 2 calls instead of just 1 because the sales team didn't really have all the answers to the questions. Now, here's what technical buyers actually want before they agree to a second meeting. They're usually looking for reference architecture diagrams, integration flows and process maps, a real-world product walkthrough, a case study from a team that looks like theirs, documentation that doesn't sound like marketing copy, and clear answers to security, compliance, and scalability questions. If they don't get that, they wait. And when I say wait, it can be like months. They're way more patient than the sales team, I'll tell you that. Or they might ask to bring in someone from their technical team, which triggers your team to do the same thing. And now you've got 5 people on a call answering questions that could have just been answered with content, and you're slowing down your own sales cycle. This is why product marketing can't just live in Figma and Dex. If you're not creating content that actually answers real questions at the right time, you are forcing your team to compensate with headcount. And that's not scalable, it's not efficient, and it's a terrible use of time for your engineers, your AEs, and your buyers. So what you really need to do is have strong mid-funnel content that clarifies how your product fits into complex environments, especially enterprise environments, validates your technical claims without any sales pressure, because tech buyers, as soon as they smell sales, they're out. It should help the buyer make progress before your second call, so give them the information they need to do something on their own and see how you can help them. And they should also equip internal champions to bring technical stakeholders along, because quite often, one team wants a solution, but they can't get that solution without approval from other teams. The bigger the company, the more approvals they need. Content can take care of all of this, and it prevents all that friction before any of it happens. So this is the kind of stuff that we build for our clients. For example, I had a client that the sales team just really didn't understand the product. This is not an uncommon problem, first of all. So if you're facing this, don't feel bad. This is completely normal. In the B2B SaaS world, like, products are crazy. They're really complex and they're solving niche problems. And sometimes you get on the phone with someone and they're like, I have this super tiny specific thing. I have all the budget in the world, but I really need to fix this one little hole in our, overall map of stuff. And so when the sales team doesn't know what they're selling, my team has written a whole bunch of these like internal sales enablement documents. That's literally like, here is what you're saying or selling. Here are the words you need to use when somebody asks these types of questions. And it really helps align the entire sales team and the entire sales initiative, because when everyone is speaking from the same script, you can actually spread out your leads across multiple salespeople. So they might have an initial meeting with one salesperson, but if that guy or girl goes out on vacation or leaves the organization or whatever, you don't lose the lead. They can just transition to another salesperson because everyone's working from the same script, from the same documentation, from all the same information. You get a sales hive mind, like the Borg, when you have enough documentation in place that's written for sales teams who are non-technical. And we've done so much of that. That's helped our clients close so many deals, a lot of 6-figure deals, many 5-figure deals, and some 7-figure deals. But most enterprises, they want to do 5-6-figure deals depending on how valuable the solution is. And content is really the thing that reels them in. And I don't mean just attracts them. It keeps them within my client's ecosystem. So it's not just like, hey, I saw this white paper. It's, I saw the white paper and then I watched the video walkthrough and then we looked at your infrastructure diagrams and then we also looked at all your security compliance stuff. We have a few questions. When we get those answers, we can move a lot faster. So we have a lot of experience in this domain, not just as a company, but I personally, I've just had to do so much of that enterprise sales and buying stuff. So I've been on both sides of the table for these. And the content we generally put together, we either work with your engineers to do things like architecture diagrams and integration guides, or we'll just take recordings or existing documentation and we turn them into things like demo scripts or even call scripts, technical one-pagers, case studies with real metrics and relevant content. All the kind of stuff that prospects need to see, need to read, need to hear, watch, whatever it is. We do video, audio, anything. Really, it's about like produce the content that your prospects really need in order to feel safe about moving from interest to decision in the sales cycle. If you need help with that, let's chat. Just email me, anthony@edifycontent.com. And in the next episode, we are going to dig into ad campaigns, why most don't convert, and how to run campaigns that actually support your sales process. If you've got some stories, questions, or examples of any of this stuff that we've talked about here, if it's happening on your team or you've got some experience in the past, leave a comment, send me a DM, or send me an email. Again, that's Anthony@edifycontent.com. Thanks.